The Prime Minister took a direct shot at the Congress, accusing it of treating the nation as its ancestral property. He also said that the Congress cannot hold sermons on democracy as it used Article 356 around 90 times to dismiss state governments and peddles conspiracies which have repeatedly been rejected by the voters. In a thundering finale, the Prime Minister threw down the gauntlet in a direct message to the opposition, saying, "Ek aadmi sab pe bhari pad gaya hai." This scathing attack comes as the opposition demands a JPC investigation into the Adani matter, accusing the government of conspiracy. This even after clarifications from the LIC, the SBI, the Reserve Bank of India and the Finance Minister, and assurances that public money is safe and the banking sector is robust. The big question is, in response to allegations and conjectures from the opposition camp, has the Prime Minister blunted the offensive in the larger political fight? Joining me on the show, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, BJP MP, Amar Patnaik, BJD MP, Kalanidhi Veeraswamy is DMK MP, Adil Singh Boparai representing the Congress, and Professor Sanjay Kumar of the CSDS. I'm going to begin with Adil Singh Boparai. Are you fighting purely on conjectures, or do you have hard evidence to substantiate all those charges that were being made, particularly in the Rajya Sabha today while the Prime Minister was speaking? There was a lot of sloganeering that happened.
Well, Maria, first and foremost, what I saw was brazen display of narcissism. What I saw was I, me, myself. India is a country of 1.4 billion people, 140 crore people. We should not lose sight of that fact, number one. Number two, there are three compelling issues standing before the country today. Number one, price rise. Every citizen, including you and I, are feeling the brunt of price rise of essential commodities. Number two, rising unemployment. And number three, and the most critical out of the lot, is the largest and arguably the biggest stock market scam of Asia, which is the Adani scam. Now, let me, for the benefit of our viewers, tell them that the UK regulator has already ordered an investigation against a company called Clara International, which is allegedly used by the Adanis to fund money into the Indian Stock Exchange. The world has noticed this. International stock markets have stopped taking Adanis as margin calls or collaterals.
Okay.
Banks like Citibank started.
Since you are talking about the Adani enterprise, let's now listen in to all that Prime Minister said, and I'm going to go back to all the guests in just a bit.
No, you haven't let me complete.
इतने महत्वपूर्ण सदन में कुछ लोगों का व्यवहार, कुछ लोगों की वाणी न सिर्फ सदन को लेकिन देश को निराश करने वाली रही। इस प्रकार की वृत्ति प्रवृत्ति के माननीय सदस्यों को मैं यही कहूंगा, कीचड़ उसके पास था, कीचड़ उसके पास था, मेरे पास गुलाल। कीचड़ उसके पास था, मेरे पास गुलाल। जो भी जिसके पास था उसने दिया उछाल। और अच्छा ही है, जितना कीचड़ उछालोगे कमल उतना ही ज्यादा खिलेगा। हमारी प्राथमिकता मेरे देश का नागरिक था, हमारी प्राथमिकता हमारे देश के सामान्य लोग थे, और इसलिए हमने 32 करोड़ से ज्यादा परिवारों के पास गैस कनेक्शन पहुंचाए। नया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खड़ा करना पड़ा, धन खर्चना पड़ा, आजादी के अनेक दशकों के बाद भी इस देश में 18,000 से ज्यादा गांव ऐसे थे जहां बिजली नहीं पहुंची थी, और ये गांव अधिकतर हमारे आदिवासी बस्ती के गांव थे, हमारे पहाड़ों पर जिंदगी गुजारने वालों के लोगों के गांव थे, जनजातीय से गांव थे, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के गांव थे। लेकिन ये उनके चुनाव के हिसाब किताब में बैठता नहीं था, इसलिए इनकी प्रायोरिटी नहीं था। किसी कार्यक्रम में अगर नेहरू जी के नाम का उल्लेख नहीं हुआ तो कुछ लोगों के बाल खड़े हो जाते, उनका लहू एकदम गर्म हो जाता। मैं बहुत आश्चर्य होता है कि चलो भाई, हमसे कभी छूट जाता होगा नेहरू जी का नाम, और छूट जाता होता होगा हम ठीक भी कर लेंगे क्योंकि वो देश के पहले प्रधानमंत्री थे। लेकिन मुझे ये समझ नहीं आता है कि उनकी पीढ़ी का कोई व्यक्ति नेहरू सरनेम रखने से डरता क्यों है? क्या शर्मिंदगी है नेहरू सरनेम रखने से? क्या शर्मिंदगी है? इतना बड़ा महान व्यक्तित्व अगर आपको मंजूर नहीं है, परिवार को मंजूर नहीं है, और हमारा हिसाब मांगते रहते हो, वो लोग कौन सत्ता में बैठे थे जिन्होंने आर्टिकल 356 का सबसे ज्यादा दुरुपयोग किया? 90 बार चुनी हुई सरकारों को गिरा दिया। कौन है वो? कौन है जिन्होंने किया? कौन है जिन्होंने किया? कौन है जिन्होंने किया? एक प्रधानमंत्री ने आर्टिकल 356 का 50 बार उपयोग किया, आधी सेंचुरी कर दी। वो नाम है श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी का। 50 बार। देश देख रहा है, देश देख रहा है, एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है, एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है। अरे नारे बोलने के लिए भी, नारे बोलने के लिए भी उनको बदल करना पड़ता है। जो भी ये बोलता है घंटे भर से आवाज की जवाब देता है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, एक कन्विक्शन के कारण चला हूं, देश के लिए जीता हूं, देश के लिए कुछ करने के लिए निकला हुआ हूं, और इसलिए ये राजनीतिक खेल खेलने वाले लोग, उनके अंदर वो हौसला नहीं है, वो ढूंढ रहे हैं, बचने का रास्ता खोज रहे हैं।
The message is loud and clear. For 2024, it's going to be one versus all, Modi versus the rest. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, you would have been present when the Prime Minister delivered that fiery speech. My question is what the Congress party is asking right now. It was a political speech, the one that clearly sends a message that in 2024, this is what the BJP is going to be talking about. But Adil is asking, where were the replies to the questions that have been asked by the opposition parties, particularly Congress leaders?
I was present in that whole speech, but it was very unfortunate and unpleasant and painful scenario, because it is customary when the vote of thanks is being given and discussed for the President of India's speech, then it is believed and it is a tradition that all opposition parties properly support that or oppose that, whatever, but the House remains in order, because the definition of Parliament in the Indian Constitution is President plus the two houses of Parliament. And when the Prime Minister is speaking, still you are making such a hue and cry continuously for the entire tenure of the speech. It was very unfortunate, and I think Modi ji has said it appropriately कि एक तरफ अकेला मोदी और दूसरी तरफ ये सब थे. Now it was, and there was a time in Indian politics when it was Congress versus rest. Now it's an era when BJP versus rest, but in Parliament it was looking Modi versus rest. But I would like to say that the rest should try to understand that Modi is the best, and it is for rest to at least understand that. But as far as the so-called allegation is concerned, Maria, I would like to ask, in the last 22 years, since Modi ji became Chief Minister in 2001, you name a single year or single month in which they have not tried to put an allegation on Modi ji. And in the entire tenure of 10 years when they were in power, can you quote a single instance when they were able to prove anything on Modi ji? So it is their customary illogical, irrational approaches and allegations. So they have lost the credibility on their allegations also. And in this context, technically I would like to ask, can they quote a single instance in the entire history of India, Indian parliamentary history, when an inquiry has been set up on one media report? That too when the same media entity is come under investigation in their own country. Can they quote a single instance in the entire world history? They are having no faith on SEBI of India, the LIC, SBI, others, but they are having a characteristic tendency. They don't have faith in CC, they don't have faith in media, they don't have faith in judiciary, they don't have faith in army, they don't have faith in air force. Everywhere they don't have faith. So unfortunately they have fallen prey to schizophrenia. जैसे एक आदमी साइकिक डिप्रेशन का शिकार हो जाता है ना, वो सोता है तो उसे लगता है कि आसमान से छत गिरने वाली है, अभी छत गिर जाएगी तो हम सब मर जाएंगे. उस ढंग की जो इनके दिमाग में फितरत बैठ गई है, उसकी वजह से वो अपने खुद they have become the part of their self deception.
Okay, tell me, Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, this entire offensive is being spearheaded by the Congress. As an ally, are you part of this entire charge? Because what Sudhanshu Trivedi is saying is also making sense. That, you know, that this has been the charge against Mr. Modi for the longest time. Every month, every week. But when the Congress was in power, the UPA for 10 years, none of these charges were proven. And what about the regulators? You don't have faith in the regulators of India. Forget about the government. What about regulators?
Can I reply to that?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Mr. Veeraswamy.
The basic thing is, today we are talking about two main issues. One is regarding the speech which Mr. Modi had made, and the other is regarding the Adani issue, which there is a lot of queries which are being raised where we have been demanding for a JPC. And we also have a news that in the Sri Lankan parliament, during one of their parliamentary committee meetings, there was an official over there who had mentioned that Modi had pressurized them to give a project to Adani. So when we are talking about crony capitalism, we are talking about a prime minister is going and influencing adjacent states, especially when they are going through economic crisis, to pressurize them to give these kind of things it is a very clear sign of crony capitalism. And today we also have a law where you are talking about election bonds, where the details of those election bonds need not be given. So we are also asking, what amount of money has Adani's group of companies given to the BJP? You give a statement. I mean, like, make a statement. And also, at a time when you are saying that people have faith in you and all those things, why was it necessary for you to use emergency provisions to ban a BBC documentary? Nothing was told, whatever was told in that, nothing was a lie. So everything is facts, documented, and they are only
no, but how is all of this related to vote of thanks?
So clear that the people.
Mr. Veeraswamy, how is all of this related to vote of thanks? The Prime Minister was responding to the vote of thanks. Because everybody in the opposition spoke about the Adani issue and the BBC controversy. How are the two linked?
No, I tell you, his speeches are all script written where did he say anything about whatever queries were raised by the ruling government? We wanted
okay, let's listen in from Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, in the last 1.5 days.
One second, let me complete.
Yes, please, go ahead, Kalanidhi.
He also. No, and also it was unbecoming of a prime minister, a person with such a tall stature, to be talking about why they are not using the Nehru surname. Are they ashamed of the Nehru surname? I'm surprised that the prime minister of this country does not know the customs of this country. I mean, when I get married to my wife takes my name as the family name. So my son will have the same name. So when you are talking about Indira Gandhi, when she married Feroz Gandhi, Indira Nehru became Indira Gandhi.
Okay.
So
Okay, please
make
respond.
some,
You know, so
something
Dr.
like that
Sudhanshu
and
Trivedi,
speak about that in
yes,
Parliament.
the Prime Minister's speech certainly has been political in both the houses. One may say that he steered clear of the controversy and has delivered, you know, almost set the stage and tone and tenor for 2024, sir. But with the opposition being very belligerent and they are demanding a JPC or a Supreme Court monitored probe, where is it all heading then? If you do not respond to the charges coming from the opposition.
First, I would like to draw the attention of your viewers that there is a characteristic symphony from Rafale time to Pegasus to this time. Whenever the Parliament of India is going to be in session, just before that, some reports erupts in foreign media. And they know that there are so many people here in Indian establishment who will be bringing chorus to them. And so that create a ruckus and divert the attention of the country from the serious discussion in the Parliament. Otherwise, in the last 7 and 8 years, this thing has been repeated 7 or 8 times. And now on the issue of the Nehru surname, I would like to say, when he is talking about the Indian tradition, that Indira Ji was the wife of Firoz Gandhi. So Firoz Gandhi became father, then how come Rahul Gandhi became Dattatreya Gotra ke Kaul Brahman? Can he tell me? Sir, this is your very convenient logic. As and when required, you try to change your legacy. Otherwise, tell me, how come the grandson of Firoz Gandhi became Dattatreya Gotra ka Kaul Brahman? Anyway, leave that apart. But I would like to ask, if they are saying that an inquiry is to be set up on something which is published in the foreign media, I can quote half a dozen things. Volcker report, which has categorically said the Saddam Hussein given money on the oil bonds to Congress party. Natwar Singh has to resign. Inquiry chahiye kya? Mitrokin's archive KGB in the world clearly says that the Congress party got money direct from KGB in 70s. Inquiry chahiye kya? Schweizer's illustrator of the Switzerland in November 91. They have, with the photo of Rajiv Gandhi ji has said that they are having a Swiss account with 1.97 billion Swiss franc. Inquiry chahiye kya? क्या क्या बात की आप बात करते हैं? अगर आप छपी छपाई बातों के ऊपर इंक्वायरी की बात करना चाहते हैं, अगेन आई एम रिट्रेटिंग, quote a single instance in the entire political history of India, and that too of the entire world, when an inquiry of a parliament had been set up on one media report, and that too when that media house itself has become part of investigation, subject to investigation and allegation.
Okay, there was a lot of history being quoted here. Adil, a quick response, and then I bring in Amar Patnaik, who has often complained that BJD, because it is not attached to either sides, gets the least amount of time in Parliament and outside as well. Yes, please go ahead, Adil. Yes.
Maria, firstly, let me place an objection, a formal objection.
Yes.
You gave me 45 seconds. You gave the BJP
go ahead,
MP
sir.
2 minutes and 47 seconds in his first speech.
Please go ahead.
And 2 minutes and 3 seconds in his second speech.
Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
I've been timing this.
2 minutes and
now
5
please
seconds.
Give me 130 seconds. Or if you don't need the Congress party,
please go ahead. Adil,
please give me 130 seconds of uninterrupted time. Number one, there are 3 features of the Adani scam. 9,50,000 crore rupees of investor money has been lost in a time span of 10 days. Now, let me tell the BJP MP, in 2001, when Mr. Vajpayee was Prime Minister, he must recall the Ketan Parekh scam. The Bombay Stock Exchange fell by 500 points, which is not even 10% of the loss of market capitalization, and there was a JPC. This is just to tell him what the BJP had done during 2001. Number two. Number three, there are serious allegations of setting up of shell companies in Mauritius and routing that money into the Bombay Stock Exchange. I can give you 20 infractions of penal laws if it's that. Money laundering, black money, setting up shell companies, inflating prices of stocks. And number three, for the benefit of your viewers, the UK regulator has initiated a probe. I repeat, the UK regulator has initiated a probe against a company called Clara International, which is a fund or a front of the Adanis. Number 5, Standard Chartered, Citigroup, multiple national, international stock markets have stopped taking Adani shares as collaterals. The world is speaking about it. Now, if Mr. Modi and the BJP want to continue to defend a stock market fraudster like Mr. Adani, and the regulators want to maintain stoic silence, then it will just shows how much and the extent of crony capitalism which exists in this country. 9 0.5 lakh crore rupees of loss of market capitalization between the 22nd of February, between the 24th of January to the 3rd of February. Can the BJP spokesperson respond?
Okay. Since you've
And
got
they
your
are
time.
still saying you don't need a probe.
Okay. Okay.
It is shocking.
Okay. You have.
It is shocking.
Adil, I'm sure now you won't say that I didn't give you time. So
No,
now
but
Sudhanshu
you
Trivedi.
gave the BJP MP 4 minutes.
Sudhanshu
And you gave me
Trivedi.
45 seconds.
Sudhanshu
I want
Trivedi.
you
Now
to
you can
formally
go ahead.
make this objection.
Now you have got all your time, Adil.
Shocking.
चलिए आप जवाब दीजिए सारे सवाल
shocking is his response. He had said allegation by whom? An entity which is under allegation, and he is talking about the share market down in 9 days. Sir, this is childish logic. Any profit and loss is finally calculated at the end of the financial year, and even rate of inflation and growth is calculated at least quarterly. If in 9 days you have drawn a conclusion that the market has gone in 9 days, it will remain for 90 days. How illogical it is. Let at least a quarter go, then you can say कि पैसा चला गया investors का. Can you quote a single person whose LIC policy has matured and they have not got the legitimate due? LIC has said that their exposure to the Adani group is 1%. And again I would like to say, ये फॉरेन से क्या कनेक्शन है? BBC, New York Times, Al Jazeera, Washington Post, every time there is a story, it is all said against India and they are echoed by Congress party and their colleagues, etc. That's create a suspicion. और Maria ji, I would like to quote, हम लोगों के बारे में ये कहा जाता था, we are स्वदेशी वाला, so we will be attacking foreign companies. But here we are saying that I have not seen a single attack on foreign company. किसान आंदोलन में ना पेप्सी पे ना नेस्ले जो कि उत्तर 35 साल से काम कर रहे हैं पंजाब में कभी नहीं सुना. All attack on the Indian companies. So that's why, and through on the issue of the foreign media. So that's create a lot of problem. And again I am saying, if there is a substantivity which the Congress spokesperson is saying, put it on the floor of the House. Budget session चल रहा, अपने MPs से कहिए, बोले floor of the House पे ये बात. और ये बात कहें because on floor of the House you have to substantiate your argument.
Okay.
In media you can say and go.
अच्छा, लेकिन Adil, since you have yes, you'll get time. मेरे से सवाल तो पूछने दीजिए आदिल. एंकर है, सवाल पूछने का हक है. आदिल, सवाल ये है.
सवाल ऑपोजिशन के ही होते हैं.
नहीं तो हम सबसे हमने सुधांशु त्रिवेदी से भी सवाल पूछा. ये तोहमत लगाना गलत होगा आदिल. Adil, question. Okay. Listen to me. You can always criticize media. That's part of what every party does. So, Adil, सवाल मुझसे ये आपसे ये है कि अगर charge है related to this, then you have the option of approaching the Supreme Court as well.
Maria, there is a reason why you have regulators in the country. And
let me explain. And there's a reason why the regulators have issued a statement already.
Do you recall in 2001 there was a loss of 500 points on the Bombay Stock Exchange? Ketan Parekh, JPC, do you recall that? Here the allegations are 10 times more grave than that. The world has taken notice. Of course, the regulators will not act because they are under the BJP's thumb. And why is it that wherever Mr. Modi goes, contracts for the Adanis follow? Of course, this is crony capitalism. Crony capitalism is when you mold your economic policies to favor a particular
Amal Patnaik, we saw what happened in Parliament as a political party which is not attached to either of the sides. Is this sloganeering and not letting the Prime Minister speak appropriate?
You see, Maria, the point is we are a regional party. And our interest in the Parliament is to raise the issues relating to our state, particularly with reference to if there are, demands which are with the central government relating to housing, relating to procurement, much more basic issues which affects the people of, let's say, my state, Orissa. And so when there is any kind of din or pandemonium in the Parliament, we as a party, our leader Naveen Patnaik has never supported this because we don't get a chance to raise these issues if there is such kind of a din, whoever causes the din. The second point here is that any discussion that has to take place can take place only when there is some kind of decorum which is maintained in the House. And it could be discussed in a very civilized and sanitized way. And if any issue is to be taken up, it could be taken up in the House itself once it is listed in the business. So I think there are procedures which are set up, which are well laid out, and it will be in the fitness of things that all of us follow that.
So are you of the opinion that particularly when there is a discussion on the motion of thanks, which has been given by the President, there has to be that decorum that should be maintained? We saw that perhaps in the Lok Sabha, it was missing in the Rajya Sabha today.
You see, the President's speech and the motion of vote of thanks are customary in nature. This is our tradition that has been maintained. And I think in the fitness of things, once again, we must, honor our tradition, conventions, parliamentary conventions in particular. And this, I think, would not really, this kind of situations would not really set good examples for future. So I would probably think that whatever has happened today, if it is not again in the parliamentary system or the decorum that is prescribed in the rules of business, I think we really should have avoided that.
Okay, Sanjay Kumar, the Prime Minister here clearly makes it about one versus all, he versus the rest. That will be perhaps the script that the BJP will be following going ahead, because we have seen Modi versus who, the question that is asked. Now it is the Prime Minister saying, मतलब एक आदमी सब पर भारी पड़ गया है, and that is what is appearing to be. My question is, in the past, direct attack against the Prime Minister hasn't really worked. It has boomeranged. Are you sensing the same this time around, or it will be different?
No, Maria, I am sensing the same. Yes, whenever opposition, whether united or different parties separately, whenever they have tried to attack Prime Minister Modi personally, it has never, those parties have never got any electoral dividends. So I think I am sensing that to happen again in 2024, and Prime Minister Modi has set the pitch for that. He has already mentioned in the Parliament that it is one versus all, and one is being weighing heavily against all the leaders. So I sense that this is what is going to happen in 2024. This is going to be the pitch for 2024 for the BJP.
But Professor Sanjay Kumar, do you think the point being made by opposition this time around is far more aggressive? We have seen before 2019 it was Rafale. There have been similar allegations that have come in, but none of those allegations really held water, because we saw what was the response. But this time around, the entire opposition seems to be united.
Maria, there is a slight difference. If you look at 2019 and Rafale, it was all about the government and the company. This time it is slightly different, and slightly different is Modi Adani, and it is so the opposition is trying to target Prime Minister Modi personally of being cozy with the businessman who is who has been given favors by the government. So opposition is trying to do something a little bit different, but I'm not sure whether even this different strategy is going to succeed for the opposition, because whatever they may say on the floor of the Parliament, finally people vote, and I don't see this going down well in the minds of the people. In a sense, people don't believe, or I would say differently, generally people think this is all part of the game. In a sense, in politics, political parties need money, and there are big businessmen who do support political parties. So generally people don't see anything wrong in this kind of an like parties supporting business houses supporting the political party. So I don't see this turning into a big electoral issue in 2024 which can push the BJP in a difficult corner. I don't see that happening.
Okay, so you are sensing it that perhaps it won't be an issue. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, one view certainly is that the Prime Minister today has thrown down the gauntlet for 2024. Is it him versus all?
First, I would like to put forward a fact. Adani Group got first contract during the Rajiv Gandhi time. It was legitimate and right. Mundra Port during Narasimha Rao, legitimate and right. Food Corporation of India contract for 15 years during Manmohan Singh, it is right. Biggest investment in the last 6 months in Rajasthan, Ashok Gehlot given, it's right. Then Chhattisgarh, Bhupesh Baghel given, it's right. The biggest port, it is given in Kerala, PNR region, where Rahul Gandhi is member of parliament. It is right. But only that portion is wrong, and that too after the clarification by the regulators. I think this logic looks illogical and ridiculous. And as far as Sanjay ji is concerned, जो उन्होंने बात बोली, तो बस एक बात कहना चाहूंगा कि मोदी जी के खिलाफ नफरत और पर्सनल अटैक तो 2001 से शुरू हुआ। ये नफरत करते रहे और जनता उनको मोहब्बत देती रही। जिसको ये मर्ज समझते रहे वो मर्ज तो बढ़ता रहा। तो एक लाइन में कहना चाहूंगा कि मरीजे नफरते मोदी पर लानत खुदा की, मर्ज बढ़ता गया जो जो दवा की। तो इन्हें देखना चाहिए कि जो ये दवा कर रहे हैं उससे इनका मर्ज बढ़ रहा है, मोदी जी की तो पॉपुलैरिटी बढ़ रही है।
Adil, yesterday the Prime Minister talked about that Suraksha Kavach that he has because he continues to win elections, his policies get validation electorally. So the point being made by Sudhanshu Trivedi here of the love that he is getting from the people, and also how the projects that that perhaps was started by the Adani group started during the Congress regime. So my question is, should Adani's projects under Congress regimes be also open to investigation?
Maria, I'm quite surprised. I'm surprised at the arrogance of the BJP, and I'm surprised at the watchdogs or the institutions who have completely given up on their quest for accountability, because in a democracy, it's checks and balances which matter. I think what is most critical here to understand is, and you have to separate the spiel and the propaganda and the misinformation here. What are the allegations and how have the market reacted? Today, retail investors, ordinary citizens, lower middle class citizens have lost lakhs of rupees. I'm again reiterating it at the cost of repetition, 9.5 lakh crore rupees of market funds have been lost. This is not just merely the Congress making an allegation. There are allegations that the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka told the regulator that you have to give this port to Mr. Adani because Mr. Modi has said so. The Bangladeshi government wants to renegotiate a PPA. Wherever Mr. Adani goes, whether he goes to Israel, whether he goes to Australia, contracts follow for Mr. Adani. So the fact of the matter is, there are allegations of accounting fraud. There are allegations of setting up shell companies. There are allegations of inflated stocks. It is all very well to dismiss it summarily, but let's not lose sight of the fact that international stock markets and domestic stock markets, common investors like you and I, have reacted. And let us also not lose sight of the fact that Mr. Adani's wealth has grown exponentially since 2014. Today, he has his finger in almost every pie.
Okay,
and
Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, one thing that has become clear now is that this was and has been a face-off between Rahul Gandhi and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Do you see Rahul Gandhi as the face of the opposition on the road to 2024?
Is that question to me?
No, Mr. Kalanidhi Veeraswamy of DMK.
Which Congress has to take. I mean, no. This is a decision which Congress has to take, and their party has to decide about who is going to be the face of for the next elections. But today the Prime Minister was also talking about that Congress had brought down governments using the article for dismissing elected state governments. Here we are seeing that the BJP government is harassing all opposition ruled states using the governors, and in some places we have seen the mischief that they do play when they in places like Karnataka, Maharashtra and all these places. So let us not make it sound as if BJP is a very holier than thou attitude, and I mean keep saying about Congress. BJP has equally done enough amount of see, when the moment they come to power, they want to push their agenda of one language, this language issue, and they want to ensure that all the opposition ruled states are totally, they cannot function peacefully. So in Tamil Nadu, we have a governor who has behaved in the most unbecoming way for that high office, and despite that, we have to make do and see how we can progress. And if you look at the South Indian states, out of the 130 MPs over there, BJP and Alliance have only 30. Okay. 100 are against the BJP. Okay. So this is the kind of a state which are the states which are most developed.
I have to give some time to Amar Patnaik as well. Amar Patnaik, are you hoping that parties such as yours get time to speak now, and there will be some decorum that will be followed in Parliament? It will be only one day that's left, that's tomorrow, before the the break that is there.
Hope so. We hope so, because a very important day, considering the fact that the budget discussions are going to be taken up, and we have several issues to raise in the Parliament relating to our state, which could have been probably considered in the budget, which we are looking forward to, and we would make that plea before the Honourable Finance Minister. So we really look forward to a sane environment and a kind of peaceful, discussion taking place tomorrow.
Okay, Professor Sanjay Kumar, I'll give you the final word. You are seeing the Congress respond. You have seen other political parties speak. The Congress party is also following this strategy that they would want their views be part of the parliamentary records, and that is the reason why they agreed for a discussion. But in the Rajya Sabha, it was about sloganeering while the Prime Minister was speaking. My question is, here is the Prime Minister who speaks about the Suraksha Kavach yesterday. Here is the Prime Minister who speaks about one versus all today. There is a script that is being followed here. Do you feel, because you would have done multiple research on Prime Minister's own popularity, this is something that could work for the BJP? And in multiple elections where the Prime Minister takes center stage, it has always worked for the BJP.
Maria, first, I am posing a counter question to myself and then answering the question. Do I see or do I think that BJP's popularity or Prime Minister Modi's popularity has gone down? No, it is not. So, this strategy has worked for the BJP and for Prime Minister Modi in the past. He still remains to be popular. BJP still remains to be a popular party. Look at the number of states where they are the ruling party. Look at the vote percentages BJP has across the country, 37% vote. So all the indicators suggest that BJP, in my opinion, is nowhere in a trouble. If you hold elections in a couple of months, I'm sure BJP would be leading the race by a huge margin over its nearest rival. So this strategy has worked for the BJP in the past. BJP doesn't seem to be in a deep trouble at the moment, and this strategy is going to help them in 2024 electoral contest.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, Professor Sanjay Kumar. Always a pleasure to have you on my shows. Amar Patnaik, Adil Singh Boparai and Kalanidhi Veeraswamy. Now let's listen in again to what the Prime Minister has said when he made that blistering attack against the opposition in the Rajya Sabha.
इतने महत्वपूर्ण सदन में कुछ लोगों का व्यवहार, कुछ लोगों की वाणी न सिर्फ सदन को लेकिन देश को निराश करने वाली रही। इस प्रकार की वृत्ति प्रवृत्ति के माननीय सदस्यों को मैं यही कहूंगा, कीचड़ उसके पास था, कीचड़ उसके पास था, मेरे पास गुलाल। कीचड़ उसके पास था, मेरे पास गुलाल। जो भी जिसके पास था उसने दिया उछाल। और अच्छा ही है, जितना कीचड़ उछालोगे कमल उतना ही ज्यादा खिलेगा। हमारी प्राथमिकता मेरे देश का नागरिक था, हमारी प्राथमिकता हमारे देश के सामान्य लोग थे, और इसलिए हमने 32 करोड़ से ज्यादा परिवारों के पास गैस कनेक्शन पहुंचाए, नया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खड़ा करना पड़ा, धन खर्चना पड़ा। आजादी के अनेक दशकों के बाद भी इस देश में 18,000 से ज्यादा गांव ऐसे थे जहां बिजली नहीं पहुंची थी, और ये गांव अधिकतर हमारे आदिवासी बस्ती के गांव थे। हमारे पहाड़ों पर जिंदगी गुजारने वालों के लोगों के गांव थे, जनजातीय से गांव थे, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के गांव थे, लेकिन ये उनके चुनाव के हिसाब किताब में बैठता नहीं था, इसलिए इनकी प्रायोरिटी नहीं था। किसी कार्यक्रम में अगर नेहरू जी के नाम का उल्लेख नहीं हुआ तो कुछ लोगों के बाल खड़े हो जाते, उनका लहू एकदम गर्म हो जाता। मैं बहुत आश्चर्य होता है कि चलो भाई, हमसे कभी छूट जाता होगा नेहरू जी का नाम, और छूट जाता होता होगा, हम ठीक भी कर लेंगे क्योंकि वो देश के पहले प्रधानमंत्री थे। लेकिन मुझे ये समझ नहीं आता है कि उनकी पीढ़ी का कोई व्यक्ति नेहरू सरनेम रखने से डरता क्यों है? क्या शर्मिंदगी है नेहरू सरनेम रखने से? क्या शर्मिंदगी है? इतना बड़ा महान व्यक्तित्व अगर आपको मंजूर नहीं है, परिवार को मंजूर नहीं है, और हमारा हिसाब मांगते रहते हो। ये सदियों पुराना देश सामान्य मानवी के पसीने और पुरुषार्थ से बना हुआ देश, जन जन की पीढ़ियों की परंपरा से बना हुआ देश है। ये देश किसी परिवार की जागीर नहीं है। वो लोग कौन सत्ता में बैठे थे जिन्होंने आर्टिकल 356 का सबसे ज्यादा दुरुपयोग किया? 90 बार चुनी हुई सरकारों को गिरा दिया। कौन है वो? कौन है जिन्होंने किया? कौन है जिन्होंने किया? कौन है जिन्होंने किया? एक प्रधानमंत्री ने आर्टिकल 356 का 50 बार उपयोग किया, आधी सेंचुरी कर दी। वो नाम है श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी का। 50 बार। देश देख रहा है, देश देख रहा है, एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है, एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है। अरे नारे बोलने के लिए भी, नारे बोलने के लिए भी उनको बदल करना पड़ता है। जो भी ये बोलता है घंटे भर से आवाज की जवाब देना। आदरणीय सभापति जी, एक कन्विक्शन के कारण चला हूं, देश के लिए जीता हूं, देश के लिए कुछ करने के लिए निकला हुआ हूं, और इसलिए ये राजनीतिक खेल खेलने वाले लोग, उनके अंदर वो हौसला नहीं है, वो ढूंढ रहे हैं, बचने का रास्ता खोज रहे हैं।
country, and we did.
Now, according to the United States, China's fleet of spy balloons have targeted several countries, including India. As per the Washington Post, the surveillance balloon effort has operated for several years now, partly out of the Hainan province, which is in the southern coast of China. They have collected information on military assets in other countries and areas of emerging strategic interest to China, including the Indo-Pacific, India, Japan, and of course the thorny issue of Taiwan. These surveillance airships are operated in part by the People's Liberation Army. They have been spotted over at least 5 continents. They are part of China's fleet of balloons developed to conduct surveillance operations. And they have violated the sovereignty of other countries apart from the United States. So, could the popping of a balloon turn into a watershed moment in the rivalry between the United States and China? The balloon crisis could exacerbate already tense ties where the US and Chinese forces have come into very close contact, including over the South China Sea. US officials are increasingly worried that Chinese state companies may be assisting Russia's military effort against Ukraine by providing technology and semiconductors, which may raise the pressure for action by the White House. The Biden administration is already expected to create a body to review outbound US investments into China the next few months, and the new Republican House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, is expected to follow in the footsteps of his Democratic predecessor, Nancy Pelosi, with a visit to Taiwan later this year. Days after the US shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon, the first images of the debris were released by the US Navy. The balloon, it was around 200 feet tall. Just wrap your head around that figure, 200 feet high. It was shot down early Saturday morning as it floated off the coast of South Carolina. The US Navy is using underwater drones, warships, inflatable vessels to try and retrieve whatever pieces they can from this balloon. The debris are now being taken to an FBI lab in Virginia to analyze the capabilities of this balloon. What danger could it have possibly meant for the United States and for US citizens? Remember, the US insists that the balloon was used by the Chinese military for spying. While China has acknowledged that the balloon was indeed Chinese, they have called it a weather balloon that had blown off course. Now, this balloon has caused a serious diplomatic face-off between the US and China. Just take a look at the series of events over the last 10 days. The balloon first entered American airspace towards the end of January, flying around the southern tip of Alaska. It then entered Canadian airspace to then float back into American airspace. It made its way over Montana, which is home to the Malmstrom Air Force Base, which is one of the 3 sites which operates and maintains the silo-based intercontinental ballistic missiles. Now, the balloon also cast a shadow over U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's planned visit to Beijing. He was supposed to go there on the 3rd of February. Just hours before his departure, Blinken decided to postpone his trip. According to the U.S. State Department, the surveillance balloon had undermined the very purpose of the trip. The following day, the United States military shot down the balloon as it hovered over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of South Carolina. A single missile fired from an F-22 Raptor stealth fighter jet brought down the balloon, which had been flying at about 60,000 to 65,000 feet. Remember, normal aircraft fly about 30 to 40,000 feet. This was flying about 20,000 feet higher. All flights were grounded in North and South Carolina shortly before the shooting down of the balloon. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping currently has his hands full with domestic problems like the fallout of his zero-COVID policy, and perhaps he doesn't want to drag out the dispute with the United States, which could explain the rather muted reaction from China to the balloon being shot down. China claimed that the United States is using armed force to bring down the balloon, and that is an excessive reaction. It expressed strong discontent and protest against the U.S. action. The Chinese have also accused the United States of violating international norms by shooting down the balloon, but made no mention of the violation of international law. China has also said it would defend its legitimate rights in the interests of the enterprise involved, which could help it make the case that the government was not directly involved in launching this balloon. China has also refused a conversation with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. In his State of the Union address, U.S. President Joe Biden made a reference to this Chinese balloon episode.
I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world, but make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
Now, according to the United States, China's fleet of spy balloons have targeted several countries, including India. As per the Washington Post, the surveillance balloon effort has operated for several years now, partly out of the Hainan province, which is in the southern coast of China. They have collected information on military assets in other countries and areas of emerging strategic interest to China, including the Indo-Pacific, India, Japan, and of course the thorny issue of Taiwan. These surveillance airships are operated in part by the People's Liberation Army. They have been spotted over at least 5 continents. They are part of China's fleet of balloons developed to conduct surveillance operations, and they have violated the sovereignty of other countries apart from the United States. So, could the popping of a balloon turn into a watershed moment in the rivalry between the United States and China? The balloon crisis could exacerbate already tense ties where the US and Chinese forces have come into very close contact, including over the South China Sea. US officials are increasingly worried that Chinese state companies may be assisting Russia's military effort against Ukraine by providing technology and semiconductors, which may raise the pressure for action by the White House. The Biden administration is already expected to create a body to review outbound US investments into China the next few months, and the new Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is expected to follow in the footsteps of his Democratic predecessor Nancy Pelosi with a visit to Taiwan later this year. Days after the US shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon, the first images of the debris were released by the US Navy. The balloon, it was around 200 feet tall. Just wrap your head around that figure, 200 feet high. It was shot down early Saturday morning as it floated off the coast of South Carolina. The US Navy is using underwater drones, warships, inflatable vessels to try and retrieve whatever pieces they can from this balloon. The debris are now being taken to an